you once gave a talk on federalism. I'm just curious, are you an advocate
Your
of
Honor.
federalism?
Because I had a training in the United States on federalism because I was a member of the California Bar. I practiced in the US for a while before I came back to the Philippines. So more or less, I know about federalism, about the autonomy of the states to govern themselves separate from the federal government.
Let's try to relate that to your future work, if at all, as an ombudsman. Um, what might be a more effective system of fighting graft and corruption, under our present system or under a federal system?
Well, I think just my humble opinion, Your Honor, federalism is better in a way because you are bringing the government closer to the people than what we have now. For example, if we have a federal government, the state government of Cebu might be more fiscally responsible for any fiscal expenditures to the people of Cebu, meaning responsibility-wise, it's more close to the people than the national government.
Let me further my curiosity. If I remember correctly, one of the campaign slogan or promises of the then President Duterte, which in fact I think helped propel him to the presidency, was his promise to pursue federalism. What has happened along the way, if you know?
Well, I think from the news that I got, it was really not so popular that time because I think the basic fundamental issue was that people do not really know what federalism is all about. And because of that, the term federalism was more or less associated to the person and not to the system itself. So because of the curiosity and confusion of people, there was really not so groundswell of support from the masses and from even from the professionals. Basically because not so many of us know about federalism. I think it's more of information drive, information about the nature and concept of it that the former administration lacked.
Thank you. Going back to your application for ombudsmanship, no? What aspect of the work of an ombudsman that has motivated you to apply for the position?
It's the graph busting, Your Honor, because I believe that the system of the ombudsman is a unique system in the Philippines that's not really found in the US or in other countries. And number two is it's more specialized field in a sense that it focuses more on public officials and official positions of power in the government over any other person in society. Because of that, the accountability of the office of the ombudsman is even greater than any other tribunals or courts because it has to be more or less sturdy, stable, and efficient in the service. That's the point that I would like to be interested in, Your Honor.
Can you share with us a specific instance in your career as a lawyer when you have actively involved yourself in fighting graft and corruption?
I can cite one instance, Your Honor, when I was in the practice of law. And there was this hometown of mine in Biliran when the vice mayor was assassinated and killed. And the suspect was the mayor, the sitting mayor at the time, of our municipality. And the vice mayor, the vice mayor's wife happened to be my distant cousin. I was hired to prosecute the mayor for the homicide or murder committed to the vice mayor. And as a consequence of that, Your Honors, I had a lot of death threats all around. Even my parents had death threats. There were so many intimidations and untoward incidents that happened along the way when I handled the case. And to the point that I even confronted the brother of the mayor, asked him to stop the threats because I knew all the while that that time the threats came from them. So that was one big experience I had when I both had experience against my life, against the justice on the vice mayor, and against a corrupt mayor at the time. And fortunately, the mayor then is now in prison for so many reasons, Your Honor.
Ombudsman or former Ombudsman Martires, I remember, dismissed or frowned upon lifestyle checks as illogical. No? What is your personal view on this?
I think,
On
Your
lifestyle
Honor,
checks.
I think, Your Honor, they are not illogical in a sense that people, when they have something, sometimes they flaunt it. And as a way of flaunting it, people will see what they have. It's a more or less a natural proclivity of some officials to show off a little bit of what they have. And that shows the lifestyle of some officials. I think lifestyle checks are important as a curtailment or a deterrent for corrupt officials. That's only my personal opinion, Your Honor.
That was my final question. Thank you and good luck, Justice Corpin. Thank you, Attorney Cuevas.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Mejia. Our next interviewer is the Honorable Justice Erlinda Piñera Uy.
Thank you, Attorney Cuevas. Good afternoon, Justice
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Corpin. You are currently an Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what lessons from your appellate experience can you bring should you be appointed as Ombudsman to address reduction of case backlogs and achieving high percentage of success rate in the prosecution of corruption cases?
Okay, Your Honor. I think we were required to submit our action plan
Yes.
to the Honorable JBC. And there are some points there that I'd like to highlight as a means of expediting and improving the efficiency of the Office of the Ombudsman. One thing is we have to systematize everything. We have to conduct retraining and upskilling of employees, investigators, agents, and prosecutors alike, in a sense that investigators should also have the same training as judges on, number one, appreciation of evidence, number two, on probative values of proofs, number three, on the weight of evidence required in either convicting or acquitting or dismissing a case, and number four is on the observation of the demeanors of the witnesses during the hearings or during the preliminary investigations, Your Honor. And second is, I would also like to improve the prosecutorial skills of the state special prosecutor. In so doing, we need to have programs and trainings to upskill the skills, like the trial techniques and what do you call this, the documentary appreciation of the prosecutors, and also the skill and training in the presentation of evidence.
Justice, if I may cut you, can you be more specific on how to attain these trainings once you get appointed to the Ombudsman?
Well, Your Honor, I just came from Harvard because of the training I had with the Court of Appeals. I discovered that some of the schools like that, like Harvard University, they have programs for training of prosecutors, for training of investigators, training of agents that we can actually utilize. But I don't know if we actually are doing it right now. But if there is a continuing, regular, monthly training exercises for all these agents and employees of the Ombudsman, that will effectively improve their skills and abilities. And number 4 also is a monitoring system. I think it's in my action plan, Your Honor, that the Office of the Ombudsman has to have a monitoring system on the efficiency of the investigators, efficiency of the prosecutors, and I suggested even a conduct of an audit, either performance audit and also fiscal audit on all the investigators. And we will know by the monitoring system whether the investigator has backlogs or is resolving the decisions on time or not on time, and the efficiency or the quality of work because of the performance audit that we will conduct.
How would you handle situations where the Ombudsman must investigate high-ranking officials, former colleagues, or those who may have had a role in your appointment or promotion?
Your Honor, I always believe in the rule of law. And whenever, like me in the Court of Appeals right now, I usually, as a matter of principle, I usually follow the evidence. Whatever the evidence leads me to, then I have to resolve it based on that. I have to resolve it based on the facts, based on the evidences that are presented to me, without actually considering the personalities and people involved outside of the papers that I receive.
And how would you handle these people who come to you? How will you approach them?
Your Honor, there are a million ways to avoid perhaps encounters like that. So many excuses. One way I think of, I was thinking
Please
of
share
this,
your
Your Honor.
personal experience.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I would like to hear that.
One way, in fact, one way that I did when I got appointed in the Court of Appeals was I changed my phone number, contact number, so that I could limit the access to people who are calling me and asking help from me. That's one. Number 2 is I would always avoid holding my phone and giving it to my staff so that it's not me personally answering the phones, but my staff. I only answer calls that are important and from people really close to me, like my family. Otherwise, I would not answer my call personally, the calls personally. Well, those are some of the ways that I did actually when I got appointed, Your Honor.
So it will be difficult for us to call you.
It might be that way, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
The doctrine of inordinate delay has led to the dismissal of several corruption cases. How will you address this situation if appointed as Ombudsman?
May I reiterate, Your Honor, my action plan there? My action plan is a constant, regular monitoring of all the performances, the cases pending. And just like what we are doing right now in the Court of Appeals, Your Honor, that each of us would monitor each of our cases and age them according to the number of years they have been pending with us. And fortunately, I'm proud to say, Your Honors, that In my case, I have a zero backlog. I don't have any backlogs anymore in my office, in my chambers. So the constant monitoring and audit will really solve the problem, and we keep on reminding our investigators, our case holders, our lawyers there, that they need to update their performances so that we can keep track. If we age the cases, we can keep track on what cases have long been there pending, and what cases have already been resolved and not resolved yet.
What about, let's say you are appointed as ombudsman,
Yeah,
what
sure.
will you do with currently delayed, inordinately delayed cases? How will you handle this situation?
I would create a special group or special team to handle all those cases, find more efficient lawyers inside the ombudsman, and deploy them and deputize them to expeditiously resolve the cases, especially the age cases already pending with the ombudsman.
Now, what would be your vision for the office of the ombudsman? Let's say you are appointed by the end of your term.
Well,
What should we expect?
By the end of my term, Your Honor, I would expect, number one, the ombudsman to have been digitalized in its cases, that we will have a digital system of filing cases, resolving cases, and sending notices to the litigants and parties, and all, just like the IPJI of the Supreme Court that we are actually implementing now. We're digitalize everything, and then number two, at the end of my term, I will expect that the office will also be interfacing with other agencies of the government, like law enforcement agencies. The same way, again, that that the SPJI, the Supreme Court now is implementing on the strategic plan for judicial innovation, when the Supreme Court is interfacing with the DOJ and DILG, so that we can have only one database, one information that we share to each other, so that we can have a more effective, more efficient disposition of cases. Right now, I'm also a member of the JSCC, the Judiciary Sector Coordinating Council, where we normally meet on plans on how to interface the information and knowledge we have with other agencies like DOJ, the NBI, the CIDG, and the DALG also. So we have an ongoing program like that in the judiciary, Your Honor. Perhaps I can replicate that system in the ombudsman.
My follow-up question to that, actually.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you are part of this system, the Justice System Coordinating Council?
Yes, Your Honor.
How come the ombudsman was not included?
Oh, because I think the original concept of that was to address specific crimes during which the ombudsman was not really that concerned yet, like specific crimes like trafficking, drugs, and all that. That's precisely the reason why this JSCC was created.
So now you will involve corruption cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. How do you define moral courage in public office? And can you cite an instance in your career when you had to make an unpopular but principled decision? That's my last question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Moral courage for me is sticking to my personal, deeply entrenched moral values, that despite all the influences, despite all the external factors, coming my way, I stand pat by that moral value. And well, one instance that I can actually cite was when I was in the practice of law. I practiced in Tacloban. I handled one case. This case involved a very poor old lady owning a certain vast property within the city of Tacloban. And unfortunately, she was sued by an influential family in Tacloban for ejectment, meaning she wants to they wanted her to get ejected from her own property. And the problem here was that the influential family had the title to the property, whereas the old woman, my client, had no title because she said that during the time of the cadastral survey, she was not around in the place. She was, I think, in Manila at that time. So another person was actually causing the registration for her over the property. And because of that, the title was named in the influential family's name. Because of that, the ejectment suit, I handled her case, and we've won actually in the MTC. We questioned the title. And then when the case was appealed to the RTC, we again won in the RTC. The appeal was dismissed. And unfortunately, after 5 days after I got the copy of the decision of the RTC, the same judge reversed the decision altogether with an exactly opposite set of facts. And I only came to know about later on that the judge was having an affair with my opposite counsel. And I told my client that I'm sorry, I could not really do, it's beyond my control to have this case won in the same sala. We need to do something like an appeal or MR and have the judge disqualified from handling this case. Unfortunately, my client was blaming me for everything. But I still stood pat in my principle that I had to push for an appeal or for an inhibition of the judge. Unfortunately, the judge is now dead. So, well, we can consider that as, I don't know, Your Honor.
The red light is on. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Justice, and
Thank you, Your
good
Honor.
luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Justice Uy. Our next interviewer is the Honorable Attorney Nesauro H. Firme.
Thank you, Attorney Marife. Good afternoon, Justice.
Good afternoon po, Your Honor.
Just full disclosure, I've known Justice Butch since, when was that? More than 10 years ago, during
Yes, Your
our
Honor.
election days.
Election days.
Yes, so he was at the Lakas at that time. My client was also part of that party. So, Justice, the first question. Actually, I was supposed to ask two questions, one from the Senator, but it was already covered by Attorney Jojo. So I'll proceed with my own set of questions. So if appointed as the Ombudsman, what can the stakeholders expect from you?
Well, the public can expect a more or less disciplined office, an impartial and blind justice office that takes care of what is fair and what is just, and we just follow the evidence on all the cases that are handled by the office, Your Honor.
So I was sifting through your records. You had a lot of accomplishments, no, from the academe, no? Now you are part of the Court of Appeals, no? So despite all these accomplishments, Justice, why do you still want to become the ombudsman?
Again, may I reiterate what I answered a while ago, Your Honor? Because there are a lot of irregularities happening around, especially in the government service, and I'd like to be the graft buster to discipline our public officials and employees on all irregularities, Your Honor.
I understand, Justice, that you once became from Lakas, the executive director, and you were also part of the Congress. So my next question
Yes, sir.
is, how apolitical are you?
Apolitical in a sense that I have had judicious decisions when I've been in the Court of Appeals for a while already, for almost 5 years. And of course, I have friends also who are politicians, undoubtedly, but that will not affect the disposition of the cases that are being handled by the Office of the Ombudsman, just the way I am handling all the cases I am handling now in the Court of Appeals, Your Honor. Same impartiality, same fairness and justice that I serve.
So, speaking of impartiality, no, so we all know that independence is one of the qualities of a good ombudsman.
Yes,
So, can you tell me an instance where, whether at your present job or in the past, that you have displayed your independence?
One thing, Your Honor, is that I have had encounters also with certain politicians asking help from me, especially on criminal cases. I could cite like at least 3 of them. One, a mayor in Visayas. I don't want to
Please,
just cite the names.
let's not disclose names
Yeah.
here.
And another one was a board member, and they've been suspended from office, and they approached me. And what I did actually was simply to avoid them and not to talk to them at all, Your Honor. Because in that way, I will keep my independence, I will keep my impartiality if I don't know anything about the facts coming from them. Not coming from anyone else, but especially coming from them. I better avoid talking to any litigant or party to any case pending in my sala, Your Honor.
So how about integrity? Also, one of the qualities demanded of the post. Was there an instance where your integrity was put to test, and how did you handle or navigate through that?
Well, I would like to cite one. In fact, there is an opposition to my application now because I've been sticking to what I believe is right, and some lawyers, especially the one that actually filed the opposition, have earned the reputation of filing inhibitions, disqualifications, and all that. I will always say what I want to say, what is just and what is fair, and I will always apply the law to the facts in the case. Incidentally, in the particular case of the lawyer who filed the opposition, his cases were like off tangent, and in other words, in short, he lost in my sala. But we always take note, Your Honors, that in the Court of Appeals, we are a collegial body. We always discuss cases before we decide, before we write our decisions. In other words, it was not only I who made the decision, it was the 3 in one division, in my division, that actually decided and made the same opinion that I had in those decisions. So I try as much as possible to stick to what I believe, Your Honor.
So, if appointed justice, do you foresee any significant change in your life or lifestyle, and how do you manage, to cope with that?
Well, Your Honor, lifestyle, I don't think I will change my lifestyle. I will still be the same person as I am now.
How about knowing that you will have a lot of bodyguards? Are you
I
comfortable
don't,
with
I'm
that?
not comfortable with lots of bodyguards, Your Honor. In fact, now, I don't have one. Despite all the risk and all the hazards, I think we are now entitled to one security guard for each justice, but I don't have one yet. And I don't know if I'm interested because, you know what, in all honesty, Your Honors, if we have another guy beside us all the time, it's additional expense on my part. I have to feed and I have to, the guy. So I don't care about security risks. Perhaps that's part of the job that comes with it, Your Honor.
How much do you value justice public perception?
I don't really value that so much, Your Honor, because when I believe that what is right, I don't care if other people would dislike it or don't want it. I don't really care so much about what other people say. For as long as what I think is right, I'll do it, Your Honor.
So, in the same vein, how would you take these public criticisms?
Well, they are just there for criticism, Your Honor. I don't know if they are productive or not. If they will make me better person, then I may be able to listen to them. But if not, I don't care, Your Honor. I'm sorry for the word, but I should not care more about them or their opinion.
Sige, let us assume justice is already year 2029, and by then you are familiar that you are all aware that there will be a new president.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, so I'm going to give you 5 things, and I would like you to rank them.
Yes,
One
sir.
being the most significant, and number 5 would be the least significant. So number 1 would be the president that appointed you to the ombudsman post. You are already the ombudsman. No? So number 2 would be the incumbent president. It's already 2029, so we're speaking of a new president. Number 3 would be the public perception, including the public perception, and the stakeholders as well. No? Number 4 would be your safety and that of your family. And number 5 would be your personal goal that I've heard earlier, that you want to be the graft buster.
Well, okay. The first rank, Your Honor, will be my family because my family is all important to me, especially my kids. And the second rank in priority is my goal. And that I will do my job to the extent possible according to what the mandate is. And I cannot really rank the president because he will just be an ordinary party or a litigant in case there is a case pending with me. And the incumbent president, I won't care much about the president because he is immune from suit anyway. So there might not be any case pending with me at the time. So what
One will be public perception, the public.
I think the public perception will
come
be
to
my
that.
last, Your Honor.
Okay, so you are also aware that, of course, because of the position you held previously, there will be several persons that would probably help you to get the ombudsman post. So would you have the guts, assuming the evidence would warrant, would you have the guts to file the case against them before the ombudsman?
As I said a while ago, Your Honor, I will just follow the evidence because the evidence will tell me whether there is a case or there's no case at all. And whenever I find that there is such an evidence, then will have the courage to file it because the number one consideration of the position is the rule of law. It should be the rule of law. And I think those people who will help me, they will also understand that we will have to honor the rule of law above anything else.
Last question, Justice. So if ever appointed, what significant development in your life that would make you decide to quit the ombudsman post?
Whenever my family needs me most, that's the only thing perhaps that will make me quit.
Okay, thank you, Justice.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
very much, po, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Firme. Our last interviewer is the Honorable Justice Jose Catral Mendoza.
Thank
Good
you
afternoon
very
po, Your
much. Attorney Marife, good afternoon, Justice.
Good afternoon po, Your Honor.
I have a set of questions here from Congresswoman Luistro. First question. As a public official who has served in both the legislative and judiciary branches of the government, how would you address the persistent issue of unfilled positions within the office of the Ombudsman?
Okay, Your Honor, if there are unfilled positions and I will have to understand first, number one, is what are those positions? Number two, what are the mandates of each position? And number three is how urgent should we fill in the positions, Your Honor? And if they are urgent, then perhaps we have to prioritize those vacant positions that are urgently needed by the office and those that are least needed by the office, Your Honor. But for definitely, we will have to fill in those positions because they are there for a purpose.
The average is 48% unfilled.
That's kind of high percentage, Your Honor. I'm sorry to hear that.
If appointed as the next ombudsman, how would you consider the committee reports transmitted by Congress as a result of its inquiries? Would you automatically docket them as formal complaints, or would you first subject them to evaluation to determine whether they meet the requirements of a valid complaint under RA 6770 and the Ombudsman Rules of Procedure?
I would like to evaluate them first, Your Honor, whether the evidence would warrant the filing of a case or proceeding with a preliminary investigation, Your Honor. Because I think in the proceedings in Congress, Your Honor, I understand that all the evidences are gathered, whether they have a personal knowledge or no personal knowledge, or whether they are a first priority source of evidence or a tertiary source of evidence. We need to evaluate them first, Your Honor, if they are credible, number one. Number two, if they are worth the probative value that the crime being suggested to be filed qualifies, Your Honor.
How will you balance respect for congressional oversight with the Ombudsman's duty to remain independent and impartial?
Well, Your Honor, I will treat all the congressional findings and reports the way they are presented to me. But the Ombudsman side, Your Honor, the field investigation offices are also doing their job, and I might as well advocate to stick to the findings of one of my people in the office, because they are guided by certain standards. And on the other hand, with the Congress, I will entertain them, but again, subject them to some evaluation, so that in that way, Your Honor, I will keep my office's independence intact and keep Congress's reports worth the evaluation and worth our visit, Your Honor.
Question number 3. RA 6770 grants the Ombudsman broad powers of investigation and prosecution. Do you believe these powers are sufficient to combat corruption today, or should Congress amend RA 6770 to expand or redefine them?
I think, Your Honor, the present law we have right now is more than sufficient, more than enough to prosecute all the erring public officials. For me, Your Honor, the most important thing there is really the people occupying these positions. Because no matter what kind of law we'll have, if we will put the same people there and all of them are erring and commit irregularities, I don't know what law will there be enough to prosecute them apart from what we already have right now, Your Honor.
Next question. Do you believe the Ombudsman has the authority to inquire into or examine the bank accounts of public officials even without a court order?
I think, Your Honor, presently there are public officials or positions that execute waivers already, that allowing offices like the Ombudsman to inquire into the bank accounts. In that case, Your Honor, if there is a waiver, then I think the Office of the Ombudsman can use that waiver to inquire into the status of the bank accounts of the public officials. Otherwise, Your Honor, I still believe in the privacy, the constitutional provision and privacy of the individuals outside of the waiver, Your Honor.
Thank you. Last question. In your opinion, is the current constitutional setup of designating Deputy Ombudsman for Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao effective in curbing corruption at the local level?
Well, presently, Your Honor, I think the system is enough already, because for each deputy ombudsman, there is a specific thrust that they face. That's the territorial jurisdiction of their office, Your Honor. Like if it's a Visayas, then they focus on the Visayas area. I think that still suffices, Your Honor, because they cover one specific territory. And specifically, Your Honor, for the armed forces, there is another deputy ombudsman for that purpose. And apart from all these deputy ombudsman, Your Honor, there is some overall deputy ombudsman also, the ODO, that actually supervises and monitors all of them, Your Honor. And in that case, I think we don't need any more than what we have right now, only for purposes of investigating public officials and erring officials and prosecuting them, Your Honor.
That was the last question of Congresswoman Louis Strauss.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I have only one question or one set of questions. You mentioned earlier, follow the evidence.
Yes, Your Honor.
The Department of Justice in 2024 issued circular number 28, abandoning the standard probable cause to reasonable certainty of conviction. If appointed ombudsman, would you adopt the same standard?
I think, Your Honor, the conduct of the preliminary investigations on the DOJ might be different from the conduct of the preliminary investigations of the Ombudsman, Your Honor. We can set our own standards, for me, in my opinion. We can set our own standards in the Office of the Ombudsman, separate and independent from the standards set by the DOJ. I think the only purpose why the DOJ changed the standard there is so that there will be certainty of conviction eventually when the case is filed in court. On the other hand, in the Office of the Ombudsman, Your Honor, we have the same purpose. We have the same set of goal of convicting public officials. But along the way, Your Honor, we may have a lesser probative value requirement for purposes of proceeding it with an information to be filed with Sandigan Bayan, Your Honor. Because number one, normally in public officials, Your Honor, the evidences there might be harder to secure than those those crimes being prosecuted by the DOJ. Number two is the ombudsman might be able to gather more information while the case is already pending with the court or with the Sandigan Bayan. So chances are we may still stick to the probative, to the probable cause in determining whether a case should be filed with the Sandigan Bayan. That's on my opinion, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Justice. That will be all. Your excuse.
Thank you very much, Your Honors.
Thank you, Justice Mendoza. Thank you, Justice